All right, check out these incredible images out of Texas. Days of relentless rain sparking heavy flooding all across the central and southern portions of the state. Now, extreme rain events, we don't need to tell you, are becoming more common, and they are posing a new challenge to both cities large and small. In our continuing series on the rising risks of extreme weather to real estate, Diana Olick is here looking at some new high-tech solutions poised to profit from solving the problem. Diana.
Well, Brian, that's right. Most of the nation's stormwater systems are simply unable to handle the increasingly heavy rainfall, and the more development, the worse it gets, because there are fewer places for water to go. That's why instead of looking on the ground for answers, new companies are turning to the cloud, finding new ways to control what comes out of the sky. A recent day of heavy rain in Albany, New York, caused this localized flooding. Not exactly a national headline, but it should be, because of what increasingly frequent and heavier rainfalls are doing to the bottom line of local economies across the nation, hitting both infrastructures and budgets. Joseph Coffey is Albany's water commissioner.
These extreme rainfall events are causing flooding, basement backups, and combined sewer overflows into the Hudson River.
From May through July of this year, much of the East Coast saw rainfall up to 3 times normal levels, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And 9 of the top 10 years for one-day extreme precipitation events have occurred since 1990, according to the Environmental Protection Agency. The more water, the more expensive the damage. In Albany alone, 2 summers ago, a few random rainstorms caused over $3 million in damage to sewers, overwhelmed by unusually heavy water. So in Albany's search for a solution, Joseph Coffey turned to tech, the tech-based cloud, and a 4-year-old company called Opti, which installs smart systems underground to manage water in urban lakes, ponds, and tanks, draining them in advance so they can hold more water precisely when storms hit. Marcus Quigley is the CEO.
We're able to take the weather forecast and use it to predict how much runoff is going to occur and drain the facility down in advance to create new storage without building a new major capital asset.
Quigley says nationwide there are close to 1 million sites like this lake that could use Opti's technology to control local flooding.
The lake is held back by a large panel, which makes sure that the level is maintained at a certain elevation. At the bottom, there is a valve. That valve is connected to cloud infrastructure.
The valve is directed by a control box, which connects to the cloud, watching weather every second and changing the water level in the lake. A far cheaper solution than building more storm drains and reservoirs.
Typically, the savings are in the range on the capital side from 50 to 90%.
Opti now has more than 130 systems deployed in 21 states. New York City, Pittsburgh, and Chicago have bought in. Quigley says Opti's revenue has grown tenfold in its 4 years, doubling last year alone. Its largest private investors are Sidewalk Labs, Mission Point Partners, and Ecosystem Integrity Fund. While Opti is using its technology to manage and direct water underground, another company is setting its sights and its technology higher, literally. Rainbank is a recent startup that turns rooftops into reservoirs, like this one in New Orleans.
The device closes and this water fills up in this area.
And it's not going to leak.
Correct.
Rainbank's technology connects water valves on rooftops to the cloud, holding water during heavy rain events and then releasing it slowly once the storm has passed.
And our server is running algorithms and it's evaluating a storm and deciding when is going to be the most intense period of a storm. With that information, it tells these valves when to close, when to start collecting water.
Like Opti, the technology is relatively cheap. Dutt calls it nothing compared to what increasingly intense storms are doing to local economies.
It's really becoming debilitating to the infrastructure of our cities. So first of all, it's limiting transportation and movement of commerce, causing damage, which is actually costing cities and private owners money to fix infrastructure damage.
So far, Rainbank is on rooftops in a dozen cities, including Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and St. Louis.
The U.S. spends about $5 to $10 billion a year on stormwater mitigation. We think we could be a major player in that potential market.
And the business of water management is growing exponentially. A water conference in Denver this summer, StormCon, drew over 200 management companies, big names like Forterra and Oldcastle, as well as dozens of startups, from pipes to pumps to high tech. Business is booming, and the money, Brian, is pouring in.
No pun intended. Maybe some pun intended. So the Opti technology, if I understand it right, it knows when a storm is coming.
It's watching.
It drains a pond.
Yes. Or
so
a
that
reservoir
effectively now
or
the
pipe.
pond or the reservoir is empty, so it can capture the water.
Exactly.
So where does the initial water go?
Well, there's places for it to go because it's dry, right?
There's
so
no
it predicts.
storm.
Exactly. So it goes out into the sewer systems and it goes out in the flow, the rivers, wherever it's supposed to go beforehand, so that the lake is lower, the pond is lower, the pipes are empty,
Wow.
ready for that storm.
So if you're driving by a pond and all of a sudden it's empty, you know a storm
Get
is
your
coming.
umbrella.
And Opti says, that's really interesting. Really interesting stuff. Diana, great stuff. Thank you.